we'd like to present Not Seen Before.
Inside BJJ.
Get in now.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. God damn it! I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
Stockton, California's finest gentlemen, proudly present to you the greatest podcast in the world today. Your host, he's rich, he's wealthy, he's a fractional reserve banker, he's a Crosley Bracey brown belt, and today's special guest, the one and only Freddie Prinze Jr. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Inside BJJ podcast.
Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Matt Freeman. Nice job, sir.
Master of the craft. Thank you, brother.
You did a very, very nice.
I had all my angles just lined up the right way.
If I can just frame this in the right way, just tell me if we're square on this. Or is this plumb or not?
I got to get my cornerstone.
I'm not sure I know what your angle is. So, hey,
enlighten me.
Want to welcome everybody to the program. We got a great show lined up. We're going to talk a little bit about EBI. Talk a little bit about the drama in the EBI world. Probably going to have some WrestleMania talk.
I heard that Eddie Bravo was going to fight Halleck Gracie.
Yeah, maybe we can get that one started.
And Gary, see, if this was wrestling, like he would have like a special guest referee and two dudes would fight. So it would be like, who would be the special guest referee if Eddie and
Joey
Halleck
Diaz?
fought? Joey Diaz to be the special guest referee. And he's like, I'm going to call it straight down the line, dog. Listen up, cocksucker. I'm going to call a fair match.
Yeah, he'd be really into it.
And they'll be like accusing like him of maybe playing favorites for Eddie, and he'd swear up and down he wouldn't play favorites for Eddie. Then probably Halleck would cheat, and then Joey would catch him cheating and bust him in the mouth or something.
Yeah.
And then Eddie would catch him up in a submission. Some fucking 10th Planet Twister shit.
He would help Eddie, but he would only help Eddie because he was reprimanding Halleck for cheating.
Yeah.
He was still being the
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got some talk going on
I'm
there.
going to call it straight down the line, cocksucker.
And then we're going to join Freddie Prinze Jr., talk a little jiu-jitsu. Hopefully we talk some wrestling, and I know he's big time into games and stuff like that, so we could talk about that too.
Amazon click-through link.
Yeah, you know,
Get your purchases to Inside BJJ.
Hey.
There's no hidden charges. There's no hidden fees. None of that stuff goes on. If you like this show, you go to Amazon. We're not going to charge you nothing extra, and that helps sponsor the show. Amazon's real good to us, and they give us a kickback.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man.
It cost you nothing.
That's a great plug. Yeah, use the Amazon click-through banner on the right-hand side.
That was a combination of every podcast that I've been listening to when they plug the
the Amazon banner.
They act like they have an exclusive deal with
Amazon, right?
And then, and also, if they're drinking caffeinated beverages,
Caveman Coffee.
You can't go wrong with that. Support the sponsors. 10% off, motherfucker. If you type in on the promo code, motherfucker, they'll give you 20% off.
We should talk to Tate and see if he'll do that. Yeah, use the code INSIDE during checkout. Get 10% off. Go to cavemancoffee.com.
And you can also catch them on the InsideBJJ.com website.
That's right. What else, dude?
Counter move, motherfucker. You know what the fuck? You could win some real money. You know what the fuck I'm trying to tell you, you dumb motherfucker?
Yeah, counter move fantasy MMA is what all the cool kids are doing.
You talking all that shit about all those fights, how you know who's going to win and you know what's going to happen. Put your money where your mouth is and play some counter move, motherfucker.
There's some big things coming up, man. There's the WrestleMania 31 fantasy pool. There is.
I got to get in on that one. Whoa. There's no money in that though, because it's like fixed. So like, You might have some inside knowledge, right?
And then Bellator 135, Warren and Gaval's coming up. So check out countermove.
I'm going to fuck up Tommy Toehold.com.
So, dude, wow, man, there's some weird shit going on.
Whoa, you forgot something. You're not even plugging your own shit the right way.
What's up, man?
What do you get for $1.99?
Premium.
What is premium?
Premium is this. You get access to the full back catalog, every episode we've ever done.
All the Lloyd Irvins, the Cesar Gracies,
Lloyd Irvin,
the Renato Laranjas.
The Renato Laranjas, yes.
The Boz Rutens, the Hickson Gracies.
This is Lloyd Irvin, and you listen to the Inside BJJ podcast. This is Kurt Oceaner. This is Inside BJJ podcast.
Hi, this is Royce Gracie, and you're listening to the Inside BJJ podcast.
Even a purple belt Keenan Cornelius was on the Inside BJJ podcast.
That's right.
He's yours truly, Tim Freeman, said back then this guy's Keenan is good. And I've hated Keenan because he said it so many times. I'm like, fuck him, he's a punk.
I am the type of person that doesn't talk negative.
This is what. Cool. Can we let the cat out of the bag on the $1.99?
What's the deal with
that? On like what we talked about? And you said it was a good idea.
I'm not sure yet. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know. It might be too. You know what I mean?
I can't. You know how like I told you that I was gonna have to tell you about Monday Night Raw anyways, even though you taped it and you didn't want to. You got it on your DVR and you didn't want me to tell you what happened. But I was so excited about what I just saw. I called you and told you anyways.
And it caused a fight.
It was a big fight
amongst us.
I'm so excited about this.
It pitted me against you.
I'm so excited for the Inside BJJ universe that I don't know if I can hold it and contain it. What we spoke about.
See if you can contain it, and if you can't contain it, you could bust it right before the break.
Okay,
we'll tease it like that. So, dude,
I'm just saying for $1.99, you're gonna get some good shit.
Go to insidebjj.com/premium and check it out. That is for sure. We have a bunch of premium episodes only. We got the Ernest Project. We got Girls on Grappling. We got the Sweatshop, which is something I've been doing, and we got some other stuff going down there too. So make sure you check it out, dude. So EBI, Eddie Bravo Invitational 3 came out, and I gotta say this, man. Eddie Bravo is a bad motherfucker, dude. He's a really smart cat, and
he is a smart dude, and he's a really cool. I mean, he's been hella cool to us, like. Honestly, out of everyone else in jiu-jitsu, that dude has been probably the coolest guy too inside BJJ.
I would have to say you are right. Kurt has been pretty cool.
Kurt, yeah.
Eddie has really gone out of his way.
I mean, a lot of guys have been cool, but man, he's really been cool to inside BJJ.
Yeah, he's been a big supporter of the show, and so he put EBI 3 on. It was downtown at the Orpheum Theater, Los Angeles. It was amazing to see because. It was like you're watching Showtime at the Apollo, but instead of people singing, they're doing jiu-jitsu.
So obviously, I didn't watch this shit. So what happened with not that it was shit. I'm sure it was great.
He-Man.
I know. What happened with Eddie? What happened with Javi and Gary? I know Gary Tana won, but like.
Okay, so
tell me it wasn't a triangle.
No, so what happened? It was a bracket. Let me pull the brackets up, and I could tell you. I could tell you how it happened. Basically, what happened was Javi had to fill in for one of the athletes that got snatched away, and I want to talk about that in just a minute as well. But basically, Javi filled in. Let's see, where's the poster for this one? I don't know why it's so hard to blow up, dude. I can't even see. Oh, there we go. Okay, so he filled in for it was either Marcelo Mafra. He got snatched away, and I think one other did too. But Javi filled in, I believe, for Marcelo Mafra, and Javi went up against his first match, Dara O'Connell from Ibero Jiu-Jitsu. And Dara O'Connell was one of these guys that Eddie said was, he's got like a 50-50 chance guy. You know how he said like some of them were underdogs? Mm-hmm. Well, Dara O'Connell turned out to be real fucking good, man.
Shit.
Yeah, so he...
What happened? Did he beat Javi?
He beat Javi. They went 10 minutes, and there was no tap, and then they went to the sudden death, where you get to take each other's back, and they do that. And on the second round of that, he choked Javi with a rear naked, and then when it was Javi's turn to get him, Javi didn't get him. So, that was a big match, man. He looked really good. He was a standout. The other dude that was good was the dude from Go-Cars, Karan Derivadia.
Oh, yeah, I remember reading about this dude.
He was good. Richie Martinez did great. Eddie Cummings. It's really cool how Eddie set the brackets up. Eddie Bravo, he set the brackets up to where he put the teammates on the same side of the bracket so you wouldn't have two teammates fight in the final, which I thought was smart. That way you don't risk one guy throwing it.
Eddie Cummings and Gary Tannen, that's almost like Davey Boy Smith and the British Bulldog Dynamite Kid.
It is. Yeah, and it was a close fight, I thought, and it looked to me like they were getting after it. Cummings actually...
Well, I talked to Cummings, and it was fixed.
That's why there was no counter move MMA on that one.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. No, I'm just kidding.
So, yeah, that was a good fight.
And see, if Eddie was really smart, he would fix this. And they would have these crazy super matches. There'd be like double flying triangles and shit and crazy donkey guards. And
So, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the final ended up being Gary Tannen and Darryl O'Connell. And
did Gary Tannen sub everybody in the 10-minute time?
He did.
Wow.
He was...
it really sucks that he's not going to be in Metamoris.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know why I'm going to tell you why it sucks, and it's bad business for Metamoris not to do whatever they got to do to get Gary Tannen. Because he's the only dude that's making motherfuckers tap.
Yeah, I know.
Everyone else is like, they're going he's going the distance. But, that's every fight is the distance. Gary Tannen's tapping motherfuckers.
No, dude, you're absolutely right. And I'm sorry, it wasn't O'Donnell that he went, or O'Connell that he went up against. It was Hinger. It was Hinger. His name was Josh Hinger, and he was from Atos Jiu-Jitsu. He was really good, dude. He did a really nice job. Yeah, it is kind of a shame. Real quick, though, the other thing that was really interesting is what Eddie did was he had kid and teen super fights in between each bracket. And, dude, it turned out to be really, really cool.
He's going to have Justin Bieber compete as a teen in the next EBI 4. Eddie Bravo, purple belt, Justin Bieber.
I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. So what he did was he basically had teens and kids kind of go in between. And, dude, it made for a really, really entertaining matches, dude. And those kids really got after it. It was pretty cool to watch. But, yeah, dude, Gary Tannen is
Will we be seeing Noah Freeman in the future at EBI?
I don't think Noah has interest in EBI.
He would probably, he probably couldn't hack a big venue like that, huh?
I don't think he'd be down with it too much. That's a lot of pressure to put on a kid.
You should make him do it against a girl who's a lot better than him. You're like a fucked up father, right? And you want to humiliate your son, so you make him compete against a girl, but she's way better and she's going to crush him.
And I tell him like how disappointed I'm going to be if he loses.
You got beat by a girl.
I'm going to be really, really disappointed in you, son. I guess if you lose, I'll just have to start focusing on your younger brother, Nate. Maybe messed up. So, what's even more messed up, rumor on the street is that Halleck Gracie via Metamoris,
G with a G,
snatched away a couple of competitors from...
That's a gangster move right there.
Eddie Bravo Invitational right before the EBI, and he did it with exclusive contracts. So you sign it, and then you can't train anywhere or compete, for Eddie Bravo probably specifically, but other tournaments as well.
He had a backpack full of broccoli. It was like 1,000 pounds of broccoli.
He had 1,000. He paid... Well, I guess he's paying these athletes in broccoli. Like thousands of pounds of broccoli.
No, actually, he's going to pay him in acai.
He's going to pay him in private lessons.
He's going to pay him in Brazilian dollars. But these are my grandfather Helio had these.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, I've been thinking about that match you showed with his grandfather, the dude that's fought his grandfather, Kimura.
Yeah.
That shit was crazy. That dude died after that. The guy that fucked up Kimura ended up dead.
He ended up getting killed.
Yeah, and some people suspect that it was because of that.
Well, he got stabbed with a urine-soaked knife, so I'm pretty sure it was.
What's weird is that he really didn't fight back in this deal. He just kind of laid.
He didn't know. Supposedly, he didn't know that.
But at what given point, there's a point in time when he knew that this guy's fucking me up.
Oh shit!
Makes me wonder about other things. I'm not going to say anything else. I'm just saying it makes me wonder about other things. Is all I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting, and who knows? That video was pretty crazy, though, but yeah, that guy did get killed. But, there's a lot of scandal and weird shit happens everywhere. I think people are starting to get bent a little bit with Metamoris, though, because...
Wait, I gotta stop there. You just gotta do a YouTube search. All the times when the shit got real and they really started fighting, there's some pretty good clips out there.
Yeah, there are, because I've been looking at some of those where, dudes are...
I've been obsessed, dude. I've been obsessed with finding clips where it was pro wrestling that turned real. There's one with Earthquake.
It's like your new pornography.
Yeah, there's one with Earthquake in Japan, and there's these other guys from Japan, and there's one with Antonio Ioki. Did you ever see the one with Antonio Ioki and the Great Antonio?
No.
Dude, it is so funny, dude. You gotta watch it, dude. It's this real fat dude is the Great Antonio, and he won't sell anything for Antonio Ioki. Won't sell none of the moves, and he's mocking him the whole time, and he's sticking his fat stomach out there. He's telling him to hit it, that he was impervious to pain, and then eventually Antonio Ioki gets mad and beats the fuck out of him and stomps him the same way that dude did. Soccer kicks him, double leg takedowns. Kind of comes over to the side, uses his head to hold him down. He stands up, and then he kicks him in the face.
Oh, my God. You could kill somebody doing that.
He fucked him up bad.
Well, dude.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, so Google search that, everybody. Well, what I wanted to talk about, just for a minute, I want to get your feedback. So the rumor and the word on the street is that Metamoris offered Gary Tonin...
they threatened to kill Eddie Bravo.
An exclusive contract to compete in Metamoris for $140,000. They offered it to Gary Tonin right before EBI 3, and Gary Tonin told him no, which is great. I'm glad he did. But does that seem a little bit janky to you?
I don't know. I can tell you another thing that happened that you don't know about is Halleck has put a bounty on Gary Tonin's head. If anyone hurts and takes Gary Tonin out of competition and puts him on the shelf, they'll get $50,000.
Oh, wow. That sounds like something I should jump on, dude.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, it sounds kind of... It sounds like a move that a corporation makes, That's a corporate move. Let's get exclusive. Let's stop EBI from happening. Let's fuck that shit up. Let's fuck up. What's that other thing called?
Copa Podio.
I don't even remember.
They scheduled again another event on the same day as the next.
It reminds me of the Monday Night Wars.
Maybe that's what they're trying to do. Maybe they think they're going to...
What if it's all a lie, right? Eddie and Halleck are all in on it.
It's Eddie, Halleck, and Copa Podio.
Eddie's just writing all this shit.
He's a creative writer. And
he was writing for Comedy Central.
There you go. Who knows, man? I think that when you're dealing with Halleck, you're probably dealing with a little more ego than that.
Dude, does it surprise you that the son of I just fucked up.
Horian.
God, I can't see. You could lose the track of the names, but the son of Horian was the one dude who starts Metamoris and gets these exclusive contracts that fucks up the other.
Yeah, and I mean, I would think that if the shoe was on the other foot, Halleck would be upset about it, and he'd be saying, the community's, cannibalizing itself, and the community's not, working together like it should.
Look at the money that motherfucker is putting up, dude.
It's not Halleck's money.
I'm just saying, it doesn't. Whoever's money it is, that's a lot of fucking money to turn down.
Yeah,
I wouldn't turn it down.
Yeah,
I'd have been like, Eddie, I like you a lot, but this guy offered me, what was it, $100 and something thousand?
I think it's 140.
Someone offered me $140,000 to leave your podcast and co-host theirs.
You'd do it.
I would do it in 1 second.
That it hurts me, dude. So I'm gonna have to fire you right now. You're fired, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just declaring Matt Freeman fired as of this moment forward. Fired. Yeah, I don't know, dude. I get it. It is a business move, but damn,
I don't even see how we could pay guys like that.
I don't see how they're affording to pay guys like that either.
They're they're going to put themselves out of business.
Pretty much.
Plus, the guys aren't putting on the greatest mother. So, thus far, they have not put on any good Metamoris.
Who's put on the best shows?
Eddie and Hoyler.
And who else? Who's the other athlete that's done the best in Metamoris?
What do you mean by the...
Who's got the most submissions?
Gary Tonin.
Yeah, who saved both their cards by getting submissions. He's the guy that's the beast. Right?
Okay, so they're trying. They've brought in some old guys, right? You bring in some older dudes, and you're trying to bring in these older dudes because they're compelling to watch, and then you want to show them these younger dudes to see which one of these younger dudes will the audience connect with and get emotionally involved with. Gary Taunton's that guy because Gary Taunton went and fucked everybody up on your shows, and everybody saw that, and everyone saw the other dudes going the distance and not hunting for the submissions. So the people who watch Metamoris, I think, are interested in Gary Taunton.
So let's look, dude, at the next Metamoris card. It's actually good. It's not bad.
I think it has the makings, the possibility to be a big fucking dud.
Do you?
Because you got Cyborg's the guy that put on that great match with Brendan Schwab, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, you got him going against Barnett. That could be a stalemate of two fat turds not going after it.
All right.
And you never know with Chow Shonen in this shit. That could be a quick one. I mean...
well, you got Chael Sonnen.
I think he might even tap Babalu.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't know what Babalu.
Well, let's just look at the card though. So it's Chael Sonnen and Hanato Sobral Babalu. Then it's Dylan Donis. Dylan is the guy that they snatched away.
So you know what happens usually in Metamoris when you have an MMA guy going against a jiu-jitsu guy, you have a nice draw.
Yeah.
Because you have the MMA guy, he's really good at not getting subbed.
Yeah.
And he's used to not getting subbed while he's getting punched. So not getting subbed in Metamoris is easy, right? If you're an MMA fighter that's good with jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
So that's probably a draw. What are the draws going to be? I say Cyborg, Barnett's a draw.
Yeah, Sobral and Sonnen's a draw.
You think that's a draw?
Yeah,
that might be a stalemate draw. Lazon and what's homeboy's name again?
Dylan Donis.
Draw.
Keenan and Shanji's hard to beat.
Wow, that's an interesting one.
A draw.
I am going to go with Keenan.
It's a draw.
I got Keenan.
You know what? I think Clark Gracie...
That's going to be a good one.
That's going to be a draw, too. And then...
Jeff Monson versus Ernest Mello.
Who's RTM champ? Oh, that's the race to the champion. Yeah, I don't know who that's going to be. I don't know, dude. So, I mean, their strategy, look, they're bringing out 1 round, 20 minutes, submission only.
What if they had all draws again?
Well, yeah, I think that there's definitely that possibility, and I don't know.
There's been a lot of letdowns.
So they got season 1. I guess they got this Road to Metamoris thing going.
There's some big dudes.
And if you buy an all-access pass, you can watch season 1.
Did you buy it yet?
No.
How much is it?
You know what? I don't know, but I don't know how much I want to support this now. And I hate to say that. Oh,
you know what,
dude?
Dude? Don't get your panties all up in a
Yeah,
bunch.
I guess you're right, dude.
You're gonna support this, and you're gonna watch it.
You know what I'm gonna do?
I'm still gonna watch it.
I'm gonna donate my firstborn son.
I'm still gonna watch this shit, no matter what.
No matter what.
Even
if they kill your mom, it's $7.99 a month for all access.
What does all access give you?
You get to watch the reality show, and you get to watch the archives and the pay-per-views.
You get the pay-per-views, dude. That's a steal, dude.
No, it's not, because I could pay $9.99 and I could watch hundreds of pay-per-views
on WWE channel.
Yes.
Yeah, but this is a pretty deep. How much is the Metamoris pay-per-views?
$15 or $19.
That's the same price as EBI.
So. Yeah, EBI. Let's get back to EBI, dude. EBI was kick.
Oh, these guys are selling out for Eddie Bravo. They're just pushing EBI. EBI is great. Metamoris sucks now.
Yeah, that's what they're going to say. EBI, dude, was at the Orpheum Theater. It was beautiful. The setting was awesome. You know what I love about it? They did not waste any time. There were no bullshit drums. Nobody with stupid hats or stupid backpacks. No dumbass interviews that made no sense.
Where can you get a good pirate view of that?
I'm sure you could look around online and find that one.
Any listener out there that's got to get a pirate view of EBI, message me.
But, dude, it was really good. Eddie did a fucking awesome job, Matt. He did a really good job, dude. And Victor Davila is behind it. It did nice work, man. They did a really good job.
They did a really good job.
They did.
I believe you.
Much better than the last Metamoris. In my opinion, dude, I'm just telling it straight, right?
Wow.
I know, and I have a big opinion. Like, it's a lot of people call me just to ask
you were on pay-per-view.
Once I was.
You've called many jiu-jitsu matches. And you've called one on pay-per-view.
I've called more than one on pay-per-view.
I'll tell
you what, I saved that jiu-jitsu card by grabbing Braulio Estima, and I said, Braulio, we must speak with you.
What's funny is, like, you knew the whole time there wasn't going to be no match.
I didn't know for sure, but I had a hunch. Now, nobody told me that, and I asked, hey, man, where's Nick Diaz? And nobody said a word, But I just kind of had a hunch.
You never seen him.
You never saw him anywhere, right?
Anywhere.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know.
And that's the same very night that Nate Diaz almost beat up Hinata Laranja.
That was an epic. You know what's weird is Inside BJJ is like...
Was there.
We're like the Forrest Gump of jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? Like, we just show up at all these different things that happen.
Actually, I think the Three Stooges are...
Well, when I say Forrest Gump, I just mean how, he was like at every historical thing that ever happened. You get that reference?
I
gotcha. Maybe you could think about that, and then when we come back, we'll ask Freddie Prinze Jr. what he thinks. We'll be right back.
Hey, guys. There's a podcast of girls. Yes, that's right. Girls. It's Girls on Grappling. But not just girls could listen. Guys could listen too. So listen to it because it's girls talking.
Welcome back to the Inside BJJ podcast. We're joined on the line, the one and only Freddie Prinze Jr. How you doing, Freddie?
Hey, how are you guys?
We're doing fantastic, man. Thanks for coming on. I know we went back and forth a little bit, but we're glad to get you on, man.
Yeah, man, it was hard to talk jiu-jitsu when I wasn't able to do it because of surgery. But I had literally my first day back was yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah, I got to roll down in Torrance, and nothing hurt, and nothing hurts today. So there will be another day in the gym still to go.
That's really awesome because I didn't know. On the media, I heard different things about your condition and your recovery and how it was going. So I'm glad to hear that you're recovered and training again.
No matter who it is, it'll get blown up bigger than it is. It's only bad if you don't hear about it.
Right.
So they made it seem like it was crazy, but I had some discs that ruptured and I had got them replaced. I didn't have fusion. I could walk. I was just in a tremendous amount of pain and couldn't do a lot of the things that keep me sane and a lot of the things that are like church for me, like jiu-jitsu and other martial arts. Because I couldn't even be a dad. I was just demolished. So surgery went well and the recovery process, I'm still in it, but I'm about 90%. And getting stronger every week, so life is good, man.
Nice. It seemed like to me like you were trolling maybe a little bit on the social media with the injury a tiny bit, because it's like, wait, he's got to learn to walk again. He's got a neck brace on, and then I see another picture. And you're like, you look like you were riding on a skateboard with your hands out or something like that. I was like, what?
Yeah, Sarah told me that. I don't remember what magazine it was. I don't read any of that stuff, but she said, yeah, they published that you can't walk, that you're learning to walk again.
That's what it, yeah.
And I said, okay, well, we were on our walk when she told me this, and we got to the top of the hill, and I said, all right, take a picture of me, and I'll do some like weird yoga pose, and then everyone will be like, oh, he's fine. And so that was our response to their stupid ass story.
I wonder where they get this fucking shit from, though. Like, just
you got to remember, man. Or you don't have to remember. Here's some knowledge for everyone. Like, those magazines didn't used to be that way, and it wasn't really until the editors of a lot of the British tabloids came over the pond and took over that it really changed. We didn't have a royal family, and our presidential family wasn't very interesting. So they turned like Brad Pitt and Angelina into the king and queen, and then all the other actors are like dukes and duchesses, and it all falls under that news platform of public interest, even though it's actors and not politicians. And so they can write anything they want, and if it's a lie, they just go, oh, it's satire. And you're like, no, dude, my mom freaked out. You said I'm on cocaine. What's the matter with you? Yeah. And they don't care, man. They're not held to any standards, and there's no laws to, woe is me, I know, but there's no laws out there to protect us. So it's weird, man. A lot of times you're having to like disprove a negative. I stay out of all of that as much as possible, so I don't have to deal with it as much as other people, but the bit that I had, I hated every moment of it.
I just totally got enlightened for the first time exactly how this thing works. I get it.
There you go, man. That's how the tabloids work.
And now the bad thing, Freddie, is that Matt's going to be obsessed with it now.
That's all right. He can choke them all out and change the business forever.
At first I find out wrestling's not real. Now I find out tabloids are not real.
Hey, man.
What next?
There was a kid. Here's how real wrestling is. In the 6th grade, this dude, Ray Garcia, I was 12 years old, told me Ric Flair wasn't shit and that wrestling was fake. And I popped him right in the face, and he fell down, and I put him in a figure 4 leg lock and literally broke his ankle.
You could.
I didn't know you could. I was just, I'd seen him do the move, so I did it as hard as I could, and his ankle snapped. So It was real to Ray.
Yeah, that's a real fucking move that would work if someone let you do it. Like chances are, in most cases.
Yeah, he was kind of KO'd when I put it on him, so he didn't fight.
Wow, did you hear it? Did you hear the crack? You know, when the bone broke.
I felt it. I felt it. I didn't hear it, but I felt it under my foot, under my ankle.
It's pretty funny that you train jiu-jitsu.
God damn, what a bad motherfucker.
you train jiu-jitsu.
Ric Flair was.
Yeah, and you know all these completely like dangerous leg locks and ankle locks, but the one you break the ankle with is the figure 4 from pro wrestling. It's not
the fake one.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, the fake one is the breaker.
It would be a dream come true for me to tap somebody with a real figure 4. That would be like...
I'm telling you, right? Like, the calf crush is already hard enough to get. Right. So if you get that off, you're like, oh, I just put it on that guy. But if you can get a figure 4, that's game over.
I'm going to retire from jiu-jitsu. If I get a figure 4, that's it. I'm just going to take the gi off, lay the belt down, bow, and just walk out quietly.
I'm not doing the job, man. I don't want to be the one you get the figure 4 on. Forget that.
You're not going to put me over on that one?
No, I ain't putting you over on that. You can get like an ankle lock on me if you want.
Nice. So,
You're not doing that big of a job.
So,
so I'll tell you what, he's just going to put a figure 4 on you, and then you're going to reverse it. But then we do the screw job.
We do the Ricky the Dragon Steamboat reversal? That would be great.
Yeah. Oh, man. Dude, that's hilarious. A lot, yeah. We got in fights a lot as kids too, and it was based around wrestling. My grandma had a big empty room in her house, and we had these huge battle royals with neighborhood kids. And we always took it too far. We're like, no, we're doing a haircut match now, and the kids were like, oh
my god, that's great.
we were so crazy. We're cousins that we would do real haircut matches where if you lost, you had to get your hair cut and shaved and shit.
Bro, if it's good enough for Vince McMahon, it's good enough for the rest of us.
We had a neighborhood ranking, who was in the top 10, the most hated, who the champion was.
The most hated. That's the role you want, because those guys got paid the most in WWE. If you could be an effective bad guy where the crowd hates you and will pay money to see you lose on a Sunday instead of watch you win on all the free shows, then you had a place in WWFE now forever. And that's still the case. Too many times these guys, their egos get in it, right? And they think they're the character, and they don't want to hear boos. They want to hear cheers. So when the crowd starts to turn and cheer a little, they encourage it, and 6 months later, they ain't even in the company. Like, if you don't get it, then Vince is like, nope, he's gone, forget it. Like, he calls it dead money. He goes, that's dead money, Freddie, right there, dead money.
Speaking of WWE, what about, today where you have guys that are supposed to be like the baby faces, but yet they're getting booed anyways? Like, it's kind of weird, the temper.
Yeah, but that's sort of like the hardcore fans, right? Like, you got to remember, like, John Cena is Hulk Hogan, right? If you live with your parents, he's awesome, right? Unless you appreciate wrestling, then he's awesome no matter what. But if you're out of your parents' house, he sucks, because he's eat your vitamins, do your homework, work hard work pays off. And when you're a kid, that's what you want to hear. That's Flintstone vitamin talk. But when you're a grown-up, you're like, man, I don't make my bed anymore. I do whatever I want. Cena sucks. And you go and boo. So that's a lot of what that is. But those guys don't realize how necessary Cena is. Like, if Cena's not there, then the next generation aren't wrestling fans, period. And then their generation will be the last that ever get, cool wrestling, and then it's game over. So he's a very important, integral part of the structure, and probably like the largest block in the entire pyramid.
It's interesting to me how I've been alive long enough and started wrestling as a kid, and watched it that I've seen these character types roll over a couple of times now, but they keep, you always got to have kind of like your Hulk Hogan guy. You always got to have your Rowdy Piper. You always got to have certain characters, and they just kind of, they change them, and once in a while we'll see something totally different. But it's interesting that we've been in it long enough that you start to see these guys start to roll over here and there.
Well, it's Star Wars, right? It's archetype characters. It's exactly who this guy is. If everyone is super cool Han Solo, then Han Solo's not cool, right? Yeah. You have to have the people that sell to Han Solo's coolness that he gets over on, right? And the only person who ever got over on him was Lando, and they don't even show you that scene, right? So everyone has their part and it plays that archetype, and they've always done it. And the only time Star Wars has gotten in trouble is when they got away from that. So this is for the dorks in your audience. But that's the same. It's the same principle. Vince is a child of the '80s, which doesn't just mean if there's a problem, throw money at it, which he'll do that as well. He's a legit billionaire, but it also is that sort of those classic characters and showcasing them in a way until it doesn't work anymore, and then just slightly altering that original model. And when movies get out of that, that's when they have to make up for it with, tons of third acts with no dialogue, right? Where the only line you hear is "oh," and that's like the only line. Yeah. So that's sort of that's the compromise. If you want to have one, it's hard to have the other.
I would love to see John just straight turn heel on everybody.
It'll never happen. You'll never see it.
I'm just a big fan. I'm
not
a big
as long
fan
as
of the heels.
I agree with you, and I pitched that when I was at the company.
Oh, really?
And Vince gave me the speech that I basically just gave you guys, and said he'll never, because kids have to believe in him. They have to believe in him.
Yeah, but the best heels crush kids' hearts. You know what I'm saying? They make kids cry. Fuck selling smiles to kids.
I sold it as hard as I could sell it, and I put a lot of stuff over in that company not a lot, but a couple big things over in that company that may not have happened otherwise. But that was one that as long as Vince runs it, it ain't gonna happen. When it's all Triple H, then maybe, because Hunter's played both sides of the fence, right? Yeah. So, and he'll be the one running it when Vince is gone. But then you may see that, but otherwise, no. I got some stuff like I helped Jeff Hardy become champion, which was something that company was never going to do.
That was a great move.
From the day I got there, my boss, who was this old school wrestler named Michael Freebird Hayes. They called him BS Hayes, pure sexy. Yeah. And he's a good old boy from Georgia. There you go. Yeah. That guy. Right. And he told me, he brought those kids in, the Hardys, and he had pitched Jeff as a champion 1,000. He's like, Freddie, I'm telling you, you can do whatever you want. Vince is never going to buy.
That's a good PSAs right there.
Oh, dude, I was with the guy every single day, bro. But literally, he was like, and when he'd make a good point, he'd literally walk away and go, doop, doop, doop. And that was it. And that meant like he was done talking about it. But I told him finally, I'd been there like almost a year, and the timing was good, and Jeff was clean at the time, and so that helped the sales pitch as well. Because one of the arguments, just to be legit, was how reliable of a champ is he going to be? And my thing was like, look, regardless of what he's doing, nobody's getting hurt when he wrestles with him, and he hasn't missed a day in X amount of years. And he was a guy who struggled with a lot of the demons that artists struggle with. And he is an artist, man. Like, you can check out his paint, you can check out, some of his sculpture. Like, he's crazy.
He's fucking awesome.
Crazy as cat shit, but he's an artist, right? And so we came up with this cool sort of Heath Ledger, rest his soul, as Joker version of Jeff. And I wrote every word that he said on the way to the title, and Vince kept buying it and finally gave us this directive of, we knew that Jeff was going to get to the championship, but we didn't have like the final okay yet. And then in one of the meetings, Vince said, and nobody touches Jeff on the way to the title. And I was like, that. And I didn't say anything. Michael's under the table, like stepping on my foot because he doesn't want Vince to change his mind. Oh, wow. And Michael's like, well, boss, thanks very much, dude. And walks out, and we all go out after him. And I'm like, yo, is he going to be champion? He's like, don't fucking say a word. Don't say a word, Freddie.
It's like having a no-hitter in the ninth inning. You can't tell him.
For real, man. And that was like their version of it. And so then I think it was Armageddon was the one that he went over. It was a triple threat with him and Hunter. And that was another person we had to convince because Hunter had legitimate concerns. And Edge, Adam, who was the third wrestler in the ring, and Michael did the finish, and I knew it was going to happen, and I literally went, oh my God, like it was that good. So it made me feel like I was 12 years old again, man.
Were you a part
Snapping Ray Garcia's ankle.
Were you a part of it? I remember just thinking back at that time. I remember he had a run with The Undertaker where The Undertaker was beating the shit out of him, but he just wouldn't quit.
That was me.
That was fucking awesome. Dude, that's when I became a Jeff Hardy fan.
Oh, that's great, man. Yeah, that promo they had in London where Taker's like, and here comes another one, one of millions who have come. He had that whole speech where he's basically saying, I've seen it before, I'll see it again, you're not the one. And they cut to Jeff on the Jumbotron, and he's just going bananas with his face painted and a black light shining on him. And this cool guy, Krista Joseph, shot a lot of those because I wasn't going to London. I was trying to stay home. And a lot of the location stuff he would shoot and make Jeff look really, really cool. I only did the Armageddon one and like one other backstage thing with Jeff. But I wrote all that stuff for him all the way up to the title run, and he and I had a blast doing it. Because he was nuts, you know what I mean? So it's easy for me to write for him. I could just, back then I still drank. Yeah, and so I just get hella faded off like Uzo and then just write crazy stuff, and he'd be like, yeah, man, this totally makes sense. This is great.
How does it even work, dude, when you're doing a writing gig for the WWE? Like, you just submit stuff, or what? How does that process even happen?
I still don't know. I'll be honest with you, man. Like, I just sort of did my thing, and Vince liked it because it was different. Like, I couldn't do a lot of what they do when I first got there because they're straight up, okay, Freddie, give me your matches for the next month up to the pay-per-view. I'm like, well, how do I do that? Who's allowed to wrestle who? I don't know. This guy and this guy? Like, what are you talking about? And they had to break down the whole philosophy of, how you build a story working backwards, right? They're going to meet at pay-per-view X, Y, or Z. Work backwards from there. What kind of matches are they going to have? How often are they going to get their hands on each other? Why are they fighting? All this stuff that, as a fan, you want to think but you don't. You don't know. And it wasn't until I started to figure that out that I was able to apply more of what I do well, which is just sort of write all the monologues that I never got to say that I always wished I would have. So that part was easy, but until I sort of had the theoretical science and could make it into, effective science, I wasn't able to really do the quality work that I wanted to do. So it took a little while. But I had really cool mentors, man. I had Brother Love, Bruce Pritchard helped me out a lot.
What a great character.
I had Freebird. I had Double A, Arn Anderson, who was
a huge
the best
in the business.
To me. And I had Vince friggin' McMahon. He's the kind of CEO that you have access to every single day.
How intimidating was Vince compared to other people that you've worked with?
It's not. For me, it's not, man. Like, I got exposed. Chuck Norris broke my rib when I was a 14-year-old
wow.
in high school. You know what I mean? So it's
that's
like Chuck Norris
cool,
to me
dude.
is a lot cooler than Vince McMahon. So there wasn't like there was no sort of like, oh my gosh, it's Vince. Like, I took the job to help improve the company, to say no, because I didn't feel there were enough people around him that ever said no, right? There couldn't be, because I wasn't thrilled with the product. They had good weeks, but for the most part, I wasn't that stoked on it. And now what they're doing is what I wished I could have done more consistently when I was there. Like, they're telling a more adult story now. They've gotten away from the G rating. I don't think they're all the way back to the Attitude Era, but they're floating somewhere in between. Yeah, but with ratings and all these, like the CDs, the Catholic Defense League or whatever they're called, like they'll literally get your shows thrown off the air because these moms don't want to watch their kids. They want their kids to watch TV so they can, drink and talk to their girls about Real Housewives.
Children ruin everything.
Don't they? Their mothers do. That's
nice.
I really love it when they mix elements of MMA. It's got to be done right because it could be hokey if it's not. Like, do you think we'll see more? Bad. Yeah, I know, right? Do you think we'll see more of like jiu-jitsu moves and MMA shit in the WWE?
I absolutely think you will. My dream match would be Dana White versus Vince.
Steel cage. Do you think he would? Do you think Dana would ever maybe show up on like a Monday Night Raw even or something of that nature?
No, I know Vince would be open to it. I've heard in the past that Dana did not want to do that. He was very vocal about not doing things the WWE way, like when wrestlers or when fighters would talk trash and things like that to the audience, or like when Brock gave him the bird, he's like, this isn't the WWE. But then 3 weeks later, when he couldn't sign Fedor, he's like, oh, he's a effing pussy. Yeah. And he does the exact same thing that Vince would do. But by the way, he should. It's a successful model. Like, WWE sits on, nearly 100 million of just straight liquid capital. Like, they're doing something right. Right. MMA should strive to be what the WWE is. And the WWE, and this is backwards, should strive to tell better stories the way they do on some of the television programming for UFC. Just the Ultimate Fighter show alone sometimes has a more compelling story. Not all the time. Sometimes it's the real world, Las Vegas. But sometimes somebody actually has something to say and a story to tell, and they're eloquent, whether they're educated or not. They're eloquent in the way they sort of show who they are and what kind of fighter they want to be. And I've seen those stories. You guys have seen those stories. And when it works, it works. So, they both, I think, have a ways to go. But I know with Brock being in there, I mean, they've always respected the collegiate wrestling, and it's always been in there. But they let him go loose with it. And before him, one of the only guys to do MMA in the ring was Jamie Noble, and he wasn't getting wins very often. So he was a 175-pound wrestler, you know what I mean? So you didn't get a big opportunity to see a standing guillotine in the WWF ring.
He makes better security.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he used to be like, I think he was a cruiserweight champ back in the day. But and Punk didn't really do MMA in the ring. His indie style was more, fighting martial arts, but not so much mixed martial arts. Like his submissions were very much on the pro wrestling side of things, not on the MMA side of things.
Right.
I'd say Daniel Bryan did a little bit of MMA submissions, but a lot of his are on the more creative side that wouldn't tap anybody out, but they just look awesome. But again, when Vince takes a lesser role in the decision making, I know Hunter has a tremendous amount of respect. He'll never sell that, right? He'll be like, "Oh yeah, no, we've given them a lot. We teach them a lot," but he respects them, and he.
Sound like we lost him somehow. Hey, Freddie, you there?
You Skyping?
Yeah, we're Skyping. Let me get him back.
Oh.
Hey, Freddie, you hear us?
Yeah, sorry guys, I'm on a Xbox, and if you don't touch the Xbox controller, it goes out.
No worries, dude.
I was basically just saying, I know that Hunter respects the UFC, and he won't publicly endorse them because it's kind of a competing brand.
Sure.
So it's more of the, oh yeah, they're a nice little show. Yeah, it's all right. But he knows they're legit, and that is the future of combat sports. I mean, if you're not Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, then boxing is dead as dead. And there's great boxers. I love Canelo. I love James Kirkland. I really want to see that fight. I think it's going to be a wonderful fight. I think somebody's going to get knocked out. And if Kirkland's training with Ann Wolfe, it might be Canelo. But boxing's done, man. Those guys don't fight each other. You never see a legit guy and a legit guy fight at the same time. The days of Tommy Hearns and Marvin Hagler and Sugar Ray, that's gone. That's gone. Yeah. These guys want money. You're going to see Floyd do what he does, and I know I'm a cynic,
so boring.
But he's going to literally sandbag rounds and make it look close so they can get a second one out of it and get just as much money.
You're so right.
I'm telling you, I know that's a cynical thing to say, but these are businessmen. These are no longer prize fighters. These are no longer world-class champions. They're businessmen, and this fight is going to be a business fight. And be prepared for that. Be prepared for 7, 8, and 9 to go to Manny for no reason whatsoever, because that's what they need. There's gonna be a rematch, and if he owns him, there's not. So why would he own him? It doesn't make sense. Unless you're a fighter. But Floyd hasn't been a fighter since he fought Diego Corrales.
Yeah.
Don't you kind of need the same thing, whether it's boxing or professional wrestling or MMA, where you have like the baby face, you have the hero, you have the people that they're kind of behind emotionally and they're emotionally invested in?
I think you do, unless you're getting the best of the best in the same division and they have a chance to fight. Because then whether it's heel, face, I don't care the combination. And UFC over the last probably 6 years have had 2 divisions where I didn't care who was fighting, but I knew it was going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And, watching Jose Aldo from his first fight to now, that guy is amazing. That guy is a perfect fighter, and we haven't even seen him on the ground. You know what I mean? And everyone knows he has legit cred, but it's like he doesn't even have to do that. That's like Bo Jackson going, yeah, I guess I'll play football. I mean, I've played pro baseball now for a year and told Tampa Bay to go F themselves.
Yeah.
But for costing me my collegiate career. But yeah, it'll be a hobby. That's what he called it. Professional football, the most violent sport in the world. Yeah, it's going to be a hobby. I love the Kansas City Royals, and I'm playing baseball. And son of a bitch, he did.
He was hella good, both.
I mean, they had Marcus Allen.
Yeah, right.
And they're like, oh, wow, this guy's a lot better. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So I think you're at a point now where the UFC used to, and Joe Rogan was a master at this, not all their guys were world-class guys, right? They just
Yeah,
weren't, but they would be sold as, he's got world-class hands.
High-level skills.
Yeah, he hasn't thrown a jab, and he has no side-to-side movement, so don't sell me on world-class, but okay.
Yeah.
And I think now it's coming to the point where those kids who grew up watching it at age 5, 6, 7, which I didn't have, I'm 39, the first one came out, but it was a much different sport than what it is now.
Yeah,
kids are seeing this now and training what they see.
Right.
Like there was no jiu-jitsu in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
It was so
mysterious
for me the first time I seen him. Like, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah, like I won. I think I was 13 or 14, and I won the Southwest Golden Gloves, which was a boxing tournament. And I thought I was the man, right? I was
you
like,
are the man. You win a Golden Gloves tournament.
I'm the best. And my godfather, Bob Wall, who trained with Bruce Lee and Gene LaBelle, who was the first person to ever choke me out. I was 8 years old, and my mom had to roll up a National Geographic and beat him with it because I didn't know to tap out because I'd never done judo before.
Nice.
But he was a sweetheart about it. He let me choke him out after that. But I thought I was hot shit. And my godfather was like, "Oh, cool. Well, you should come out. You should come out to California this summer. And I got some guys I want to introduce you to, and you can spar with them." I was like, "Oh yeah, right on." So I get out there, and the guy he wants me to spar with, and this is 1989, I think, is Jean-Jacques Machado.
Oh shit!
Yeah, and we're in Tarzana, at my godfather's. Billy owned this place called the Wall Street Village, and the Machados had some space in there, and it was on the second floor, and all the windows were glass all the way around. It's beautiful. And I go in there, and I see this guy, and the dude's got, I'm like 13, 14, and so my uneducated mind sees this guy. I'm like, this guy's got one hand. This guy's got one hand. Like and I wrestled, so I was like, this guy. He's in trouble. I'd never heard what jiu-jitsu was, okay? And Chuck hadn't been on the cover of Black Belt magazine with that standing armbar yet. So I knew nothing about the Machados, nothing. And so I go in there and we get on the mat. And in 3 seconds, he's already shot a single and got me in a fireman's carry, right? And I'm on his back, and he's standing up, and he's saying, which window? Like he's going to throw me out of a window, right? And I'm already like, I'm Chris Tucker in that Jackie Chan movie where he's like, which one of y'all just kicked me? Like, I didn't even know what happened. And then all of a sudden, he shows me the trap and roll and the Americana. And I literally was like, every single person at my high school is dead. I know 2 things, and they're dead. And brother, I'm telling you the damn truth, they were.
Yeah. It's like
2
magic.
Techniques. 2 friggin' techniques, and literally my life was completely different. I had a black belt in Kempo, and when my godfather found out, he got mad because he thought it was BS karate, and he made me do Tang Sudo, which he was a master, and that's what Chuck had his black belts in. And so I started training that, and by the time, forget blue belt. By the time you're ready to test for blue belt, there's not a Kempo black belt on earth that can beat you.
No.
There's just not. And I know that's a horrible slap to the face for so many Kempo fighters. And guys, I have one of your black belts, and I didn't just get handed it. I earned it, and I felt like it was hard work. That's just a cold, hard fact. Sports evolve. Soccer's cool if you grow up with it, but if you look at sports in an evolved way, we got thumbs, man. Come on, it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? And combat sports have evolved as well. Like soccer was great, basketball's better. You guys have a goalie in front of the goal to stop scoring. We get rid of ours. We promote scoring. Yeah. You have the goals on the ground so that anyone can play. We put our goals 10 feet in the air so only the most special athletes can take flight and slam dunk the basketball. Like it's a superior sport. It's evolved. That's what jiu-jitsu is. It's an evolved form. It looked at other martial arts and said, I'm a small guy. How am I gonna deal with these bigger guys? All right, let me see. Let me try this. That didn't work. Let me try this. That didn't work. Let me try this. Oh my God, that worked. And it was game over from that point forward. And I love boxing. I love Muay Thai. I have love for Kempo, man. Situational martial arts has its place. I love Taekwondo. I love all forms. But if you want to not have false confidence, but the most effective form of confidence, and this is my humble opinion, but I've been doing this 36 years, it's jiu-jitsu, man. Yeah. And there's a lot of second places, but I don't see its equal. And like I said, I've trained a bunch of different forms from masters, and outside of, and I'm giving judo respect. I put it at that same level.
Yeah,
it's a gold medal of martial arts, and I felt it in the 3rd grade firsthand from a guy with 2 tendons everywhere we have 1, which just makes it so unfair. But yeah, I don't know if you know that about Gene, but he has double tendons.
I didn't know that. Holy shit,
everywhere
that makes
you
sense.
have 1, he has 2. So
wow.
a lot of guys, when he made the
how
Olympic
great
team,
for
had
grappling.
Beef. Oh my God! But guys had beef because they were like, well, he wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for that. And he's like, brother, I don't care how I do it, but you're dead. And he would just rip guys apart, man. He was the best, and it still is, man. He probably still does stunts in movies and beats guys up.
You know what's crazy about Gene LeBell is Matt and I, we were obsessed with wrestling as kids, and I got my hands on a Judo Gene LeBell submission book that I had no idea what the hell it was, and I brought it home, and then we proceeded to go through every page of that book and do the techniques on each other.
Brother, I know the exact book you're talking about. It's in my godfather's library, and he used to go through it with me on Sundays after we'd watch WWF Superstars, the cartoon, and literally go, now I'll show you the real stuff. And he would show me, it was his literally, like, it was, he had a wrestling school at one point with Ted DiBiase.
Yeah.
And they were teaching, like, legit shoot submissions on guys, which would shorten the career of most professional wrestlers. I guess it didn't work out.
I remember too, my favorite part was he had this part in there on how to cheat, but it was like getting away with it, like where you could like sneak in a bite, or grab somebody's nose, grab their nose with their finger or something like that.
It was a Grappling Master, I think was the name of it. Was that the name of it, Matt? Was that
it was the one with Mondo Guerrero.
Yeah, and he's like, got him in a sleeper hold.
All he would do is teach me how to cheat, because he said, the fights you're going to get in, Freddie, are going to be street fights, and everything's fair in a street fight. And so he would just teach me these shit, and my mom would literally look at me, and she wouldn't be, it was that thing where they're not mad, they're just disappointed. And she would give me that look like, oh, Freddie. Oh, Freddie. And like, my mom was like, unless she's drinking, the most non-violent human being in the world. If she's drinking, I've seen her knock a woman out in Europe when we were visiting my uncle Joseph in Germany. He worked at a hotel, and we were trying to catch a train, and this French lady bumped into my mom, said something she shouldn't have in French, and my mom speaks it fluently, and she cold-cocked her.
Oh, boom! Wow.
Laid her out, grabbed me by the wrist. My cousin Chris had an asthma attack. He was like, he started freezing. She goes, Chris, take your inhaler and shut up, and dragged us onto the train, and we were gone to Garmisch.
That's crazy.
That's a great story.
You've lived a wild life, man. You've been kicked by Chuck Norris and choked by Gene LeBell and worked for Vince McMahon. I mean, that's that's wild.
I've been real fortunate, man. My father's legacy for young listeners, he was a stand-up and an actor in the 70s, and he got famous for. He was the youngest person to ever host The Tonight Show. Johnny let him host it when he was 20 years old, almost 21, I think.
Wow.
And he had George Foreman on the show, and he reenacted the Ali-Foreman fight in Zaire. I think it was Zaire. And my dad did an amazing Ali, better than any comedian, better than Billy Crystal's Ali in a second. And Billy Crystal would give it up for my dad on his Ali, too. I think he actually did. But anyway, my dad used to always get the hell kicked out of him by Ali. He would literally like spar with my dad at his house, but hurt him, like genuinely whoop on him. And my dad was taller than me. He was like almost 6'3", probably like 205, maybe a little bit bigger. And so Ali wouldn't take it easy on him. And so my dad started training with Bob Wall, and because he heard Steve McQueen was taking karate from Bob Wall. And so my dad took his first lesson with him, and he said, "Don't take it easy on me. I spar with Ali, so you don't have to worry about me." And my godfather just fakes this low kick and goes up to his head and KOs him. Okay, is their first lesson, and this is the 70s, so it was different back then.
That's a fucked up first lesson.
It was the 70s, bro. And my godfather got paid, I think, like big money for his privates back then. There's a video of him somewhere where he actually talks about the good old days, but I think he was getting something like $400 a session or something like that back then, because he had trained.
Back then, that's a lot. He had
trained Bruce Lee, bro, when Bruce came to America, so he was a legit dude.
That's a lot of money back then.
Yeah, man, and it was Steve McQueen, so he had a lot of money. And my dad was paid back in the day too. He passed away before he could sort of reach his potential. So my dad asked him what he hit him with, and Bob shows him the kick, and Bob teaches him how to jab. And my godfather was a big proponent of of the Western Kung Fu jab, which is closer to like a Floyd Mayweather Western boxing jab than the karate jab. He was not a proponent of the Japanese style of throwing your front hand. And he always thought that the Western boxers were the best at it. And so he taught my dad the jab. And one day, and my mom still has this as evidence. One day she'll give it to me and I can prove it to the world. But my dad was at Ali's house and they're sparring, and my dad nails him with a jab. And Ali comes forward on it, and my dad pops him with two more. Pop, pop. And he gives Ali a bloody nose. And Ali kind of trips out, right, and feels his face because he knows he's bleeding. My dad runs to the bathroom. He gets a towel from the bathroom, runs out. He wipes Ali's face with it, jumps in his 1975 metallic blue Corvette Stingray, and hauls ass out of there. And my mom says Ali would call the house almost every day, and your dad would make me answer, and he'd literally start like taunting my mom and say, "Get that boy back over to my house. I'm gonna kill him. I'll come to your house. I'll kill him. I'll kill his dogs. I'll kill everybody in that." And like literally would scare my sweet little mom from West Virginia, who was like the nicest lady in the world and should never had married a psychotic actor because she was too good for that. But she had to deal with crazy ass Ali, and my dad had the towel framed, and it says June 7th, 1975, Ali's blood.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Yeah, it's a white towel with blood on it.
What a bad motherfucker.
On a black velvet, and it's framed, and my mom still has it in the closet. She won't give it to me till she's dead, she says.
Oh, my God, dude,
That's
what
crazy.
a story. That's a crazy story, man.
All your life, you've been around the best fighters and martial artists in the world.
I got to hang with some cool guys, man. Johnny Tapia was a huge influence in my life. And not just as far as boxing. He made a lot of mistakes, and he ran the boxing school that we all went to. And every time he was about to go to jail, he would come in and be so hard on us about living life the right way and not being an F up, like he would describe himself. And so I got a lot of hard life lessons, not personally, but just watching the struggle that he went through, the struggles that my father went through that were very similar. And Johnny loved my dad a lot. Said he always made him laugh. So that was, a major influence to have Bob Wall and that group of guys like Pat Johnson and Judo Gene. And I remember I went to see a Steven Seagal movie, and Gene goes, let me talk to you, Freddie. I go, what? He goes, let me tell you a little story about Steven Seagal. And Gene was on the Under Siege movie. I think it was Under Siege. Have you heard this story?
I want to hear it from you because I want to actually hear it from somebody that knows it, because I've just heard rumor, you know what I mean?
Okay, so this is the story as told by Gene, not as told by me, because I'll never forget this, so I don't have to embellish. He goes, let me tell you about Steven Seagal. He goes, about 6 of us have challenged him to a fight in Black Belt magazine, and he would always deny us and say, well, I only fight to the death. Pat Johnson, who was the referee in the Karate Kid movie, the first one, said, okay. He goes, yeah, I'll fight you to the death. And Steven did not show up. So Gene is on the set with his guys. And again, I think this is Under Siege. I'm 99% sure it's Under Siege. And Steven's not pulling any of his punches, and he's really hurting Gene's guys. Hurting him bad, not being cool at all, just trying to put himself over big time. And instead of letting these professionals sell, and they know how to sell, they make you look like you punch a lot harder than you do no matter how big you are. He's just wanting to be a bully, right? Because this kind of guy he was. I don't know if he's different now. I know he's down with the Dalai Lama, but in the 90s, I think he'd even admit he had some soul searching to do.
He's got a great front kick these days.
Yeah.
He may. I don't know what's going on with him, but I hope he's enlightened, because back in the day he was a jerk. But I think he would admit that if he's enlightened at all. So anyway, Gene had finally had enough, and he goes to one of his guys. He had this his little clock thing, his little stopwatch that would time the fight sequences, and he puts it around his second's neck. He goes, I'll be right back. He goes up to Steve. Doesn't even let him turn around, doesn't tap him on the shoulder, puts his knee right behind Steven's knee, takes him out at the knee, wraps him up in the choke, and Gene LeBell chokes him out straight up, makes him wet his pants on set, and lets him drop to the ground. He walks up to the director. He goes, when he wakes up, I'm fired. Have a nice fucking day.
Oh, wow.
He might be the baddest dude that ever lived.
There is no one that has walked the planet Earth that is badder than Gene LeBell. There is not a gladiator, from Rome that would last 5 minutes with Gene LeBell, and you could have the gladiator with all the lions in the lion's den that were underneath the Colosseum, and he would choke out a lion and spit in its mouth and not even care. Like, Gene is the toughest, baddest, most skilled dude that ever fought in any ring, octagon, mat, gym, street, sidewalk, or anywhere else. He is a beast and is literally a living legend. And people throw that term around like Michael Jordan's a living legend. No, he's not. Michael Jordan was the best shooting guard that ever played basketball. But Magic Johnson played 5 positions. That's Gene LeBell. Gene LeBell could do everything. He could punch you, he could kick you, he could slam you on the ground, and he could make every joint in your body feel like the worst pain you'd ever felt in your life. He was Magic Johnson. You can call Muhammad Ali Michael Jordan if you want, the best boxer to ever box. But as far as fighters, Muhammad Ali ain't lasting 5 minutes with Gene LeBell. And I love boxing, and Muhammad Ali's my favorite fighter of all time. But once a clinch is established, that's the end of the boxer's game. And it's the beginning of the mixed martial artist.
Would you agree with this? I've always said this, that a really good blue belt would have a good chance at beating Mike Tyson in his prime in a street fight.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
People think 100%. I'm crazy for saying that.
No, I've gone on the record and said there's not a blue belt at a Gracie Academy that couldn't beat Floyd Mayweather in a street fight.
Yeah, no, totally.
And people are like, he's the fastest thing on TV. I go, yeah, and what happens when they grab?
I hear you.
You know what I mean?
It's so easy. It's so easy to grab that leg, though. The leg is right there when you're boxing.
But here's the thing, though, man. Mike Tyson at 19.
I said a good chance. I just said a good chance.
He is a menace. He's scaring the shit out of me now when I see him. I can't imagine. I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. If he's standing across from me and he starts throwing punches, dude, I'm like, oh shit.
Now, here's what I'll say. You're a brown belt. You're beating Mike Tyson.
I don't
know. Blue belt,
dude.
like. A blue belt has a chance, but the first thing I ever learned when I was in jiu-jitsu is, look, you're going to get hit.
Absolutely.
And that's just a part of the game. So now it goes to, is he in a position where he's comfortable throwing his best punch? We're talking about Mike Tyson, the left hook.
Right.
So if you're standing toe-to-toe with him, you got the 1% shot. He's got the 99. If you get to the clinch, it's probably 60-40. He's got 60, you got 40. And if it goes to the ground, you're 80, he's 20. Because he's not going to generate the kind of power because he's not used to throwing punches from there. He's trained to throw a punch on 2 feet, on the balls of those 2 feet, and he shifts his weight from his back right foot to his front left, and he explodes with a left hook. And that's the book on Mike Tyson. That's why he won just about every fight in the world, that, and he yet knew how to move side to side, which a lot of MMA fighters still struggle with for some reason. And the only ones that do move side to side all have belts around their waist, by the way.
That is kind of funny how with the MMA guys, if they just have like some decent head movement, move side to side, not just straight back, they end up being hailed as like, he's the best boxer who's ever stepped in the octagon.
I'm saying, like, George St. Pierre threw jabs against Josh Koscheck, and
no
everyone
combos.
Was like, he's the greatest boxer in MMA, and I'm like, that's just a Freddie Roach jab, bro. Like, if he actually, could you imagine if like someone like Floyd Mayweather was alive today and their daddy was a boxer, but they were into judo? Like, they would become the greatest mixed martial arts fighter in the history of the world. You know what I mean? But they're so focused on that other part of their game. It's I don't know, man. Boxing still has a long way to go in MMA. There are guys that have really good boxing and guys that have really good head movement.
Who do you think
that is not a universal statement.
Who do you think has some guys who you think have good boxing in MMA?
I like the older Diaz brother, Nick Diaz.
Yeah, sure.
I really respect California boxers. I really respect California boxing academies. I think they make harder fighters than the East Coast, and I feel that used to be different.
Why do you think that? That's an interesting concept.
I just feel a lot of training on the East Coast has become more family oriented. If you look at a lot of the young fighters coming up, it's their dad that's their trainer, right? The last dad-son combo that the West Coast had was Shane Mosley, and he had a successful career, but I would say a lot of the losses he had were directly resulted by his father giving him bad advice in the corner. So I think on the West Coast, there's a lot. They've started opening up gyms and are trying to recruit kids the way football recruits kids.
I see.
And I don't think the East Coast is doing that anymore. I think kids are finding boxing at a later age, and I think on the West Coast, they're finding it at like 7, 8, 9 years old instead of 13, 14, 15. So they just get a big-time head start. And NorCal and Oxnard and areas like that, man, they turn out hard, tough fight. They're going to go to the worst city. They're going to find the toughest kids, and they're going to open a boxing gym a block from their high school or grade school in this case. And they're going to get their hands on you early and often, and they're going to try to turn you into a world champion. I wish more MMA academies would spend the money or the resources, and I know it's tough to make money in that business, but to have a full-time boxing coach there who's not just a kickboxer who had sick boxing skills, but a guy who simply boxed. You know what I mean? Like if Johnny was still alive, it would be something he would do because he really did love to teach, and that was the shit that kept him clean. Was when he was able to kind of share knowledge. It was when he was by himself that he would get in trouble. But if you could just have someone there and break down philosophy, don't teach him how to throw a jab, okay? Any good teacher can do that. Don't teach him how to bob and weave. Any good teacher can do that. Teach them the philosophy about moving side to side instead of straight friggin' back. Or just show them tape of them getting knocked out over and over every time they step straight back. Because it's the only thing that MMA, that the UFC lacks is world-class boxing. It's got great boxing in it, but it's lacking world-class. And it'll get there, man. It'll get there. And boxing is not superior to MMA in any way, shape, or form. But as far as seeing a more polished fighter, what do you think? 5-10 years from that? I mean, maybe sooner. I don't know.
It's hard to say because it seems like in order to do that, you're going to have some kids that spend some serious time in the boxing gym, but don't get totally sucked into the boxing world. And
that's what's hard, man.
It's hard,
That's what's so hard. And I don't know what the solution is, but I would just, I was hoping that Rory makes, man, I
got a tough name.
Cannot say Rory.
I can't either.
Those weird Canadians. I love McDonald. I'm just going to say McDonald. And I really wanted him to sort of be the first of that generation with ill boxing skills, but they look much more like kickboxing skills than straight boxing skills. Now, his game is incredibly well-rounded, and he doesn't have many faults as a fighter. He's had a couple bad nights, but he's certainly a top-shelf guy. But I really thought that he was kind of sold, again, by Joe Rogan. He was kind of sold to me as that first one who's going to be that
high-level striking.
I love Joe, man, and he's good at that because he's an actor. But I was like, ooh, this is going to be the one. And then I saw the right hand, left hook combination and was like, okay.
What
he needs a leg kick in between those two punches. That'll balance him out.
What's crazy about Nick Diaz is that his boxing started a little bit later on in his life, but he probably is the best boxer in MMA right now.
That's why I'm saying they need someone to teach philosophy. You know what I mean? Because, you don't get philosophy as a kid. You learn by repetition. When you're older, you need a teacher, a professor. You need someone like a Bruce Lee to open your mind. Like, Hiron says a lot of Bruce Lee stuff that sounds like you'd read on a fortune cookie, but when you're in the middle of rolling, it kind of makes sense, right? If you read it on Twitter, you're like, what? All right, Guru Hiron, thanks a lot. But when you're on the mat with him, you're like, oh my God, I totally get that. I get that. And it's very Bruce Lee, and my godfather made me read everything Bruce Lee ever wrote, so I'm already susceptible to it. But I think as you get older, you're naturally more open to other philosophies and other cultures, even though you may be set in your ways physically. But mentally, I think that's when we become more cynical. We start to question religion. We start to question our politicians. All these things happen in our late 20s, early 30s. And that's the time where a lot of UFC careers are starting to blossom and flourish. It's not just a young man's game like boxing or what's another individual. Tennis is not combat, but a young man's individual sport, right? Yeah. Whereas UFC has this ability for 33, 34-year-olds who have either thunder in their hands or feet or an amazing ability on the ground to preserve and elongate, what would normally be a much shorter career. So I think they're susceptible to hearing philosophically why you need to move this way, why you need to move that way, instead of just straightforward, straight back.
What is it like training with Rener and Hiron at the Gracie Academy?
Like I said, man, I've been very fortunate and very blessed for a long time, and this was just another one of those fortuitous things. I was working at WWE, and Eve Torres was one of the girls there, and I always had a tremendous amount of respect for her because she was one of the few men or women who was able to maintain their dignity while working there. It's a tough business, especially for a woman.
She had a damn good run, too, when she was
running. She really did, and she did it her way, and that is unheard of in that company. So I always had a ton of respect for her, and And she one day she said, hey, when she knew I was getting ready to leave the company, and she said, when you get back to LA, my fiance, it might have even been her boyfriend at the time. I don't even think they were engaged yet. She said, my boyfriend trains jiu-jitsu, and I've heard you talk about martial arts. You should roll with him. He's really good. And I said, oh, who's your man? And she was like, his name's Henry Gracie. And I was like, wait, what? And she was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I know who the Gracies are. And I said, listen, the last person that I rolled with was Jean-Jacques, and I know that those families didn't always get along back in the day. And she was like, no, that was like long over. She's like, Henry doesn't, propagate any of that negativity. He's all love. And I was like, yeah, all right, cool, man. So he came over, and Eve came over one night, and they met my daughter, and Henry was already playing like Gracie games with her and teaching her how to annihilate people at age 4.
Yeah.
Or she was 3 at the time.
Monster Guard, Spider-Man.
Oh my God,
yeah.
right?
Well, they're great. They're great with
like,
kids, man. They got great shit for kids, man.
Oh, she loves playing Gracie games.
Alligator
Even when Daddy was hurt, she was like, Daddy, we got to do Crazy Horse. We got to do Crazy Horse. I'm like,
tackle the giant.
Absolutely, man. So she loved that, and I watched him with her. I was like, and not only was like, wow, one day he's going to be a great dad. This must be what it was like in his family with his father. But it made me want to train with him because everything was fun and loose and groovy. And honestly, he trains with adults very similar to how he trains with kids, man. He has such genuine passion for it. You see him like in his videos where he literally emotionally gets ahead of himself and has to like calm himself down, or Hiron has to hit the rewind button on his shoulder. And then he's like, does his Jim Carrey like, and then like comes at it again because he gets so excited. So the first time I roll with him, and I hadn't rolled jiu-jitsu since Jean-Jacques. And the first 2 things he shows me is the trap and roll and the Americana.
Of course.
And I literally was like, oh my God, I'm 12 years old or 13 years old.
We lost him again. It's Xbox. It's Freddie.
Damn you, Xbox.
Freddie in the Xbox. He'll come back in just a second.
That's what editing is for.
Hello?
Hey.
That damn Xbox.
This damn Xbox. Anyway, I was just saying, like, we got on the mat, and the first 2 techniques were literally the very first 2 techniques that I learned. And I just fell in love with it from that moment on and went every day until my back exploded. And and not being able to roll when something becomes church, right?
Yeah.
It's more mentally than physically difficult. Just talking to my doctor and saying, hey man, am I going to be able to roll again? And the doc saying, I hope so.
Wow.
Not what you want to hear. You know what I mean? So, but I had to be able to play with my kids more than do jiu-jitsu. So I had to do the surgery. And when it ruptured, I mean, it felt like I got shot in the back with an arrow from a crossbow. I mean, it was like literally I had to take a knee. I was just like, oh,
wow.
And so I had to get it done, but I was really nervous there for a good 3-4 months that, I wasn't going to be able to do a lot of the stuff that brings me a lot of balance and kind of keeps everything sort of flowing in the right direction. And you guys, like you said when we started, you do a very laid back interview. I live a very disciplined but laid back lifestyle, and I need balance. I need to go surf, and not being able to surf for 5 months is not a healthy thing for me. I know people are like, surfing, dude, that's a luxury. No, it's not. If it's something that kind of touches your soul, then that's something that you need, and it's something that's good for you. So to have those types of things taken away for that long was really, really tough. But both Hiron and Henner and Alex Stewart, who's the main guy I roll with down in Torrance, and this other guy, Mike Everett, who got his black belt while I was on recovery. I mean, those guys would text me like once a week and check on me and see how I was doing, and I always kept it real positive. And like I said yesterday, I got to roll for the first time since surgery, man, and we were untying knots from the arm lock position, and I never had so much fun doing that stupid drill that I did yesterday, man. It was awesome.
Dude, that is gotta feel really good when you come back from a layoff and you get back on the mat again, because the mat does kind of become your sanctuary, and it's a jiu-jitsu. The thing that gets me the most about it is it's a crazy cross-section of humanity with people you would never come. Dude, we've had times where we had like law enforcement on the mat at the same time with a guy that they were actually looking for. But the deal is like, hey man, when we're in here, we're in here. But
I love that.
If I see you out somewhere else, like I'm.
Yeah, we know we are from Stockton, so there's some shady people that go to the different academies.
Yeah, I know. Stockton's no joke, man. There's some tough old boys up there. There's some tough old chicks up there too.
Stockton's rough.
Yeah, you got to have some jiu-jitsu.
I grew up in Albuquerque. We respect Stockton, man.
Nice.
We were number one for gang-related violence once as well.
What do you think about WrestleMania? Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar? Who's going over?
It better be Brock, man. I got a weird feeling it's Roman, but
Wow.
I love Roman Reigns, but I think it's too soon unless Homeboy cashes in on him right away and takes away. I think Roman needs to chase for a while.
Is he a little weak on the mic? I mean, he is.
I'll say this: he's gotten stronger, but not on a weekly basis. More like a pay-per-view basis.
Yeah.
Whereas, like you saw Seth and Dean literally improve from episode
they got great
to
mic
friggin'
skills.
episode, man. Like that was scary how good they got. Like Bray, you saw improve on a weekly basis. Daniel, it was more a monthly basis. Daniel Bryan, it was more a monthly basis when he was coming up. But eventually he figured it out. He stopped caring. And when he stopped caring, he stopped screwing up. I think when Roman's able to stop, this is just an actor nerd dork thing, but it's like if you're afraid of failing, you fail. If you don't care,
it's true.
Like, the choice you're going to make, if you're like, if it sucks, it sucks. It's never going to suck. People are always going to go, oh my God, that was awesome. Because you only thought about what you were trying to do, not how it was going to affect you personally. And that's a very hard thing to teach, and it only comes with experience, or you just have it and you're born with it. But you can't just teach technically how to do that. So as he screws up on the mic and wakes up the next day and realizes he's still alive and still has a job, he'll relax more. And since he is sort of the golden one and the Prince Midas, so to speak, he's going to have opportunities to fail. He just needs to embrace those moments of failure. But for a big, strong guy, failure is such a dirty word, right? Like, you never even want to hear that. But failure is how our muscles grow. Failure is how we learn how to not get arm locked 8 times in a row because we finally figured it out the 9th. You know what I mean? Like, failure is a positive thing, and Western culture makes it such a negative thing, and the Eastern philosophy is there is no learning without failure. It's the only way. I was, like I said, I was raised more by Bob Wall, and he didn't read the Bible, so he had a different, very Eastern philosophy, and talked to somebody for a long time, and Bruce, that he felt was touched by God. So his philosophy on life is very different than the Roman Catholic life I was brought up to believe. But I'm a recovering Catholic, so don't worry.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, I think I hope Brock wins, but I don't think he's gonna, which would be kind of weird. Because I really don't think you don't want to fail with the title. You can fail on the way to it, but if you fail with it, then you get what they did with Jack Swagger, where they just rushed him, and now he doesn't feel like he has or doesn't seem. I don't know how he feels.
He seems out of place.
It doesn't seem like he has a place in the company. And he gets love from the crowd still, right? So there's a place for him, but he has no direction.
An amazing
he had
athlete.
That failure with oh my gosh, dude, NC2A champ. But it's tricky. So I'm hoping they do the right thing there. I'm hoping that Sting goes over. Otherwise,
yeah, that would be ridiculous.
The last 2 months of story were really useless. I think Bray can afford to lose to Undertaker because he's so damn good. But I think he might actually win, which would be even better. But he's the one guy I think who can afford win, lose, or no finish. He's so money that it's just. He was one of the first guys I ever worked with.
Will he ever get Will he ever get a title run?
Yeah, he will. I think he will. They're not going to Macho Man him. He will. He's too good on the mic.
Bray he's my favorite character that's been out in a long, long time, man.
When I first met him, he's Mike Rotunda's son.
Yeah,
IRS's son.
Erwin R. Shyster. How awesome is that, man?
Mike taught me a lot about the business. He was an agent there when I worked there the first time. He's still a big dude too. But when his son first came up, we called him Husky Harris. That was his name, and it was just the worst tag for him ever. And
yeah, that's horrible.
Husky.
Vince used to do this thing called promo class, where he would we call monologues. They call them promos, right? And he would try to teach the wrestlers how to cut a monologue, but he's using terms that these kids had never heard before because Vince is 147 years old, right? And so he's like, you got to give me a little razzle dazzle. And I literally see kids from England and from Australia going, mate, what's razzle dazzle, man? They don't even know what he's saying, right? So I had a conversation with Vince, and he was like, well, then you teach him. And I was like, what? He goes, you teach him. Just give him acting lessons. And so I literally we basically, before each Monday Night Raw, would do this sort of actors workshop, which was basically the same crap my acting coach would have me do, which was stuff to make you feel as foolish as possible until you stopped caring about feeling foolish. And just trying to get these guys and girls over themselves. And I would report back to Vince, and this was on top of all the other friggin' jobs he made me do, by the way, which is why people quit, because they just grind you until there's nothing left. And since you have no job description, they're like, oh, well, have Freddie do that. And it's like, that's for the magazine. What are you talking about? I don't know how to do that. We'll just come up with something.
Why am I wrestling now?
Yeah, don't joke, man. I got in the ring with Orton. I don't want to do that again. And he took good care of me, and I don't want to do that again. But yeah, man, it was... Vince, I love that company. So when people talk trash about it, it's just because they don't get it. Like, not everybody thinks Picasso was the greatest painter in the world. Not everybody loves his blue era, and not everybody loves pro wrestling. But I've always loved it. I always will.
Speaking of dudes quitting, what's your whole take on CM Punk quitting, the way he kind of like trashed the company a little bit, and then how he's going to do in MMA?
Let's deal with the second part first. I'm real worried for his MMA. I believe his black belt was in the same that mine was in, which was Kempo, and that's just not going to fly.
Yeah, right.
It's just not going to fly. And his jiu-jitsu has to be at a much higher level than any blue belt in the academy, and I'm not sure if it is.
It can't be that good. I mean, how good could it be?
I don't believe it is. I mean, the last I saw him, he was a white belt, and you know, that's just not. If he's training every day, I don't know what his striking's like, but I genuinely have worry for that. When you're doing something to test yourself, that's a different kind of motivation than the kids who have to beat you or they can't feed their kids and they're going to be stacking groceries again. Like Marvin Hagler said, it's a lot harder to wake up at 4 a.m. to run when you sleep in silk pajamas. Yeah. Like, you know, he was making, you know, $1 million a year working for Vince McMahon. It's the hunger is only there to see how good he is. He wants to see if what he thinks is in actuality a reality. And that's not arrogant. That's actually humble. He wants to see if he's as good as he thinks he is. And he's open to win, lose, or draw. But your skills need to be crazy sharp, and you have to have a massive hunger if you want to step in any combat sport. So I worry about the hunger more than the technique or skill, because the beautiful thing about the fight game is anyone can win. Anybody can get KO'd. Anybody can get choked out. That's the nature of the beast. But I really, really worry about him. As far as the first part, he had every right to say what he said about the company. When they signed him, they didn't get him. They didn't embrace him. They didn't believe in him at all. The only positive thing I ever heard, I shouldn't even say who said it because that's kind of kissing and telling, but someone high up in the company, it was the only positive thing they said. They said, look, he may be able to whip everybody in this company's ass, but he doesn't draw dick. And
he was a huge draw, though, in my opinion. I loved that guy as a fan.
You know, he was a big TV draw, and the pay-per-view numbers weren't there. And
wow.
The company's always felt that the TV number is less important than the pay-per-view sales because the TV number is going to be around. It's going to balance itself out. When Monday Night Raw's on, it sucks. When it's off, it's okay. So that was more important to them, and they weren't always right. Some of those pay-per-view buys outdid what they did the year before when he wasn't on them, but that was the philosophy behind it. So I'm there during this whole, like he had been there, I think maybe a year and a half, 2 years before I got there. So all he had experienced was zero respect, zero respect, zero respect. And then me and this dude that joined the company at the same time as I were big CM Punk heads. And we really felt like we got him as far as like the indie fans went. And the trick was not to sell him as an indie wrestler because they just reject that categorically. As soon as you say indie, it's like
over.
It's like when I first started in Hollywood and was making movies, you weren't even really allowed to read a TV script. They'd be like, TV, Now it's obviously changed since then, right? Like they go, Freddie, you're a film actor. I'm like, why aren't we all just actors, you idiots? That's why I quit this stupid It's such a dumb business. But so literally, like once I made up for what my family needed me to make up for with my dad, I literally had one foot out the door and then was completely gone once we had kids. I was done with it. But I got sidetracked. But Punk's thing was, we sold him as mainstream. And me and this other guy, who, when we would get segments, you're sitting right next to Vince most of the time, and we would make sure it wasn't just me, there were other guys doing it, but we would make sure that he was recognizing the crowd's response, and Vince respected his work. They wanted him to pay more dues than he was willing to pay, and he had already paid dues for a year and a half, man.
Yeah.
Like, they had him languish on ECW, which was not the show he was signed on to do. So when his contract was up, they still needed him. He was in the middle of a story. He could kind of hold him hostage. And so he did. And he's not the first wrestler to do that. And these guys don't have leverage unless their contract's up, and they're hot stuff when they are. And so they got to make their money, and they got to take care of them. And he cut some real legit promos, man. That Colt Cabana promo was unbelievable. He had an entire crowd chanting Colt Cabana, who was this indie wrestler that WWE brought up and just played as a guy named Scotty Feldman on like a random SmackDown episode, and they just played him. And Punk put him over. He said, "I'm the voice of the voiceless." And from that moment, for me as a fan, I was like, cool, say whatever you want. Because Vince was going to be real with him, too. Vince was like, hey, I made you a lot of money. And in the ring, like, no script, just let Punk say whatever he wanted. And with no script, Vince said whatever he wanted. And people, they sleep on that. But that wasn't scripted, what him and Vince went through in the ring. That was legit, just guy on guy. You're going to be real, I'm going to be real. And they were, and it was awesome, and it was really cool television, and you got to basically see a contract dispute on live TV. You never see that.
That was the best ever. It was
really cool, man. It was really cool, and I was proud to I wasn't a part of that story, but I was proud to get to be at the company during that, because I got to see it kind of firsthand, you know what I mean, and see all the stuff going on behind the scenes. And Punk didn't need a writer. He basically wrote his own promos. This other guy, Brian,
he's so creative.
Would sort of do a first draft on it and give him an idea, but Punk he's that good that he can write his own stuff.
Wrestling's so tricky now too that they mix reality and writing and fiction, and you don't know half the time. It is what I'm seeing in the ring. This discussion, is this a real dispute or is this a made up dispute?
Oh, that CNN story about Jeff being found OD'd in a stairwell. I planted that. That was totally fake. We were literally. Vince wanted something new, and I was like, look, man, they crap on you all the time, bro. All they do is crap on you, your drug policy, which is what it is, you know what I mean? But he tests for certain things. He doesn't test for others, but the things he tests for, he makes sure that you don't do. And if you do, he gets you help. So for that, it's good. For other things, he just has a different philosophy on a science that is very controversial. And, you know, if you want to know what it is, just look up his Senate dates when he got pulled before Congress to talk about it. But some people disagree with him, and some people completely agree with him, including
I agree with
the scientists that our government hired to make it federally regulated. They all sided with Vince.
That guy looks amazing at 70 years old.
Yeah, 170. He's RoboCop, man. You know what I mean? And if you do anything stupidly, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble health-wise. If you do things, you know, with the knowledge of science and you do things correctly, then you can live a long, healthy life. But the people who freak out and complain, I feel they're probably the ones who would be susceptible to doing things in an unhealthy way. So they freak out and think everybody else is like that too.
I think you're right.
But yeah, man, as far as Punk, he said what he had to say. I think it was, he wouldn't have said that if Vince didn't give him the forum to say it. So I don't think the company had beef with it, because I think Vince thought it was good for business for this real moment to be out there. And you know what? He was right again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just tricky as a fan to watch now and to see what happens. I can't make sense. Even when I watch the WWE Network and I watch their documentaries, sometimes they're blending weird interviews with that, and I'm like, is this scripted? Is it not? I can't fucking tell anymore. It's
yeah,
great.
it's weird, and it either works really well or you turn it off.
Right.
And on their network, the docs I think work very well more than they don't.
Yeah, they're awesome.
I wish they would commit more to like a 30 for 30 style, but they have their way of doing things. They like that DVD feel that they established back in the day, and so that's the feel that they have on the network. But I think a 30 for 30 for like, you know, you could do a 30 for 30 on Shane McMahon and get his philosophy on, you know, Jesse not letting his father in the ring and his father letting him, you know what I mean? Like you could tell a really cool 30-minute like mini doc. You could make it an hour if you wanted. Same thing with Andre, you know what I mean? Like these guys, deserve that kind of a story, something exciting. You let Billy Corben direct it or something. You know what I mean? The guy that did Cocaine Cowboys.
That'd be awesome.
And he did the You documentaries. The first one, which I thought was a lot better than the second, but it was very, very good. You get somebody like that to do him. You bring him and make him your in-house doc guy. And he's in Florida anyway, so you know what I mean. It's all Florida love for their minor league system, and that's where their studios are at. So he could pull something off really cool. But there's guys like Billy that could do it really well also. But I think I'd like to see the next evolution of their WWE network be a bit more contemporary. Although there is something to be said for that classic WWE feel.
Yeah, for sure. Even the whole network idea is pretty brilliant in and of itself. And
dude, I love that fucking network.
I do too. It's like
I'm such a nerd. I'm such a wrestling nerd.
They get my $9.99 a month, man. Whatever. Like it's only a nerd if you feel lame when you watch it. Like I think it's cool, so I watch it. If someone thinks it's lame, I'm like, whatever.
Dude, I get my two boys. I sit them down and I'm like, hey, we're watching WrestleMania 9. Like, let's go. I'm
going, man. I'm going on Saturday. I'm gonna fly up to San Jose. I'm gonna go check out the Hall of Fame. Little. Even though he's passed away, little Macho Man in the Hall of Fame.
Oh,
do my little Macho Man impression for Vince. That's the one he'd be Freddie do that do that thing with Macho where he talks about Elizabeth.
That's a damn good Vince too.
I worked with him for a while, but he would always have me do that thing where he's like, man, I can barely even remember it. He goes, Elizabeth, the inspiration of inspirations. Oh yeah.
That's awesome. That's a damn good Macho Man. That's better
than Roman
Reigns'
Macho.
Man.
That's the only thing I can beat Roman Reigns in is my Macho impression.
You know what's crazy about Macho is he really was that jealous with Elizabeth. I didn't know that till years later that he did have jealousy issues, even though they portrayed that in the ring as well.
They really tried to do a lot of that real stuff, and like that whole stuff with Lita and Matt Hardy and Edge. A lot of that was all real, man. It was shady biz, and Vince was like, Jesus "Oh, that's Christ. Great. Put it on TV. Yeah, let him get on top of her and hump her and make Matt watch it. Ha 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 ha." I mean, he literally is like he's the kid in Toy Story 2 that like takes apart the toys and puts them back together in his own way.
The neighbor.
Think of Vince like that kid, and all the wrestlers are his toys, and the ring is his toy box, right, where he goes and plays with them. And so if you don't have his respect, you're literally relegated to toy status. But if you have his respect, you're that one coveted toy that he's not, that his parents don't make him share with anyone else. Like if someone's writing a line for Kane, he has such passion and love for Kane. Like if you say a word if you write a word that he doesn't believe Kane would say, he goes off on you. He goes off. Like some guy wrote the word destroyed. Like this poor kid, I don't remember his name, but he was like a writer's assistant, and this was his first project. And he wrote, so Kane says, "I'll destroy you and everyone," whatever it is. It was not good. And I'm in the room with Vince while Vince is going over it, and we were talking about the main event thing, which was Edge and I think Jeff at the time. And Vince goes, Kane would never say destroyed. And the kid's face, like, he was already white, right? But he went like gray. He was like transparent. And literally Vince goes, he would say obliterated. And the kid was like, okay, obliterated. It's like shaking, walking out of the room. And as soon as he leaves, Vince goes, and just starts like laughing. Like he was the best / worst. You know what I mean? Like he was.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like a movie that you would go, look, it's not the best movie, but I love it. Like Big Trouble in Little China, right?
There you go.
Like it's not the greatest movie ever, but man, that's a great movie. Like, that's how I felt about Vince, man. I loved the time that I had with him. He taught me a lot. He was really cool to me a lot. He was a jerk to me a lot. And that's how human beings are, man. Like he wasn't good or evil. He's just a human being. You know what I mean? He would screw things up, and because he's a billionaire, he doesn't have to pay for it. You know?
he'll eat shit.
He can have
a
bad week of TV. Like he doesn't care. Oh, he'll eat it. He'll
eat all kinds of shit and do all kinds of humiliating things to himself.
Dude, he let them shave his head instead of Donald Trump's, man.
That was great.
Yeah, man. Like he kissed Rikishi right in the butt. Like he's been humiliated plenty. Like when he had a match with Stone Cold in what was that, 02, 01, Stone Cold's not pulling those punches. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not, and you can ask either one of them, and Vince will be like, "Oh no, but he knew he was in a fight too. God damn it!" And you know what I mean? Like they've done some really cool stuff over the years. They've done some really horrible stuff too, like the gobbledygooker and other weird stuff lately. But for the most part, you know, they've always, I felt, rang true with their with their main audience, which is not the hardcore fans. It's not us, right? It's not the three of us. It's young America, and that's or young anywhere these days. They're global. But for kids, they've always, I think, remained a constant, and they've always delivered honestly in that regard. And for the more hardcore fans, we got betrayed a few times. But you get betrayed on every show you've ever seen. Like,
absolutely.
I watched that Dragon show with Sean Bean, the one off the book on HBO. What's it called that everyone loves?
Oh, you talking about Game of Thrones or something like that?
Thank you. You're jiu-jitsu guys. You're like, I don't care about Game of Thrones. I didn't either, but I loved Sean Bean, the actor, ever since I saw him in Patriot Games, right? That he would play the IRA guy. And he's a really great actor. I did a play in London, and he was doing Hamlet right next door, so we know which play was the better one. But he was in that show, season 1, and I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be like actually a show on TV that I can watch. And then they killed his ass, of course, so he was gone. You know what I mean? So they fumble the ball too. It's not just pro wrestling. TV does it too.
Well, yeah, for sure, man. And one of the things that Matt and I always say is that we feel like we learned everything we need to know about life from watching professional wrestling. Pretty much figured everything out using the paradigm of pro wrestling.
You got to get put over by somebody. Someone's got to give you a rub. In all walks of life, you need those.
And
elements.
if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
You got that right.
Hey, Freddie, man, it's been a pleasure talking to you, dude. Thanks so much.
Hey, man.
The best interview we've ever done. This was so much fun.
Man, I had a lot of fun, and I'm glad you guys allowed some nerd time too. So you didn't choke out Luke Skywalker. You let him talk.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. We love it, man.
Because Luke couldn't fight, man. He was a sorry Jedi. People forget that. Like, they go, oh, he beat Vader, but you got to look at the circumstances as to how he beat Vader. But if you look at his lightsaber skills, he's like low man on the totem pole, man. The guy I do on the Star Wars cartoon is way better with his lightsaber than Luke ever was.
A young
and my
Anakin,
guy's not even a Jedi Knight. Yo, young Anakin's way better than
fucked Luke up.
Who is Luke? If Luke is a pro fighter, who is Luke like? Is Luke a Carlos Condit type of guy, or is he lower on the level than that?
Well, Carlos. See, I would describe Carlos as a grinder. Would you agree with that? Or no?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
See, I don't know if Luke was Luke was more like the chosen one. So he's like more like, did UFC have like a Prince Nassim Hamed? Like, did they have that?
BJ Penn, when he first came out, right? He came out guns blazing.
Yeah. So like Luke comes out the box, right? And he knows he's going to be great, but he's not great.
That's interesting.
Right? But he knows he's touched. So even if his skills aren't there, like circumstances are just going to fall his way.
Gotcha.
Like that British boxer, Prince Nassim Hamed from back in the day, like everything just went his way, right? And then he fought, I think it was Eric Morales, poor bastard. And Eric is like Darth Maul on steroids.
Yeah.
Only he never took steroids. And I don't think Darth Maul did either. Intergalactic ones. But Eric Morales literally annihilated him. And the poor kid literally, like a year later, was like fighting, guys that were 26 and 26 in Macau in front of like 600 people and was gone.
Yeah,
and that's kind of like after Return of the Jedi, like what was there for Luke? You know what I mean? Like there, nothing, right? Like it's kind of just game over. That was his Eric Morales, and then even though he wins, Darth Vader's putting him over. Like Vader's doing the job in that fight. He's literally giving himself up and saying, "Here, take the." It's Kevin Nash laying down for the title basically at WCW. So you can't give him big respect for the Vader kill, even though Vader's the man. You can't say that Luke owned Vader because he literally laid down on the job. Best Jedis ever with the weapon would probably be Darth Maul. On the animated side, this chick Ahsoka Tano, and then those are probably the top. Man, Star Wars nerds are going to really come at me for this one.
They're the worst.
Oh man, you should. I do a Star Wars animated series called Rebels on Disney, and I have to be in character when I talk to some of these guys. They're like, "Hey man, a Jedi would never say that." I'm like, "Dude, I'm so far from a Jedi.
Wow.
You have no idea."
Yeah,
man.
You do the character. Is it Kanan? Is that how you say his name, or
Kanan is his name. Kanan. Yeah. We joke and say we try to make him sound more Shakespearean and say Kanan, but yeah,
Kanan.
He's Kanan.
Kanan.
That's
pretty cool
dope,
stuff,
dude. We get pretty much all the old school guys. Billy D. Williams came in and voiced like a young Lando Calrissian before he like had his own star system, and he was just like a hustler on the way up. We got James Earl Jones voicing Darth friggin' Vader.
Awesome.
We got Frank Oz voicing Yoda again for the first time in like 30 years. Like, it's sick, man. We got a lot of cool cameos.
Dude,
season 2.
I want to hear Billy D as a young up-and-coming hustler. That is great.
Oh, no, you got to check it out, dude. It's awesome.
If you have kids, just go to Disney XD and watch an episode with
My son loves it.
Yeah, watch it with it. It's called Idiot's Array is the episode with
I'm gonna check it out.
with Billy D. And he literally like schools our Wookiee. We have Lasat, but that was like the original design for all the artwork in ours is based off the original artist for Star Wars, this awesome guy named Ralph McQuarrie. They call him Ralph McHugh. And the original concept for the Wookiee was this like purple sort of bald hair in weird places guy that we have. It's sort of a tribute to McHugh in that. But the first scene in the episode is Lando just schooling him in poker, or their version of poker, and takes all our money right away.
Awesome.
It's really cool.
He's like Phil Ivey in our episode, basically.
Oh, nice.
in his prime, baby.
I'm gonna have to
with
check
some
that
Colt
out.
45.
Dude, you do all the cool shit, man. Wrestling, Star Wars,
wrestling,
Muhammad Ali, Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, Gene
and I get to go to Torrance for
it.
jiu-jitsu, man. Yeah, I'm trying to. I wish I knew more cool people. If you guys thought stand-up comedians were cool, then you think I was super cool. Because of my pops, I know a lot of the old school guys from that.
Oh, yeah.
I learned how to do the Roger Rabbit voice when I was 12 from the dude who actually did the Roger Rabbit voice.
Oh, dude, nice.
Because he used to open for my dad in 1974. There's this cool actor named Charles Fleischer.
That's some crazy
You think I can do some cool voices?
Wow.
That dude goes on stage. He's in his like 60s now. Goes on stage like 4 or 5 nights a week with zero material. Just talks to the crowd for no less than an hour and a half to 2 hours and doesn't do the same voice for more than 10 seconds. And at this point still has the crowd in his hand. And at the end of his set, at the end of a 2-hour set, he sits down in front of a piano and freestyles a song calling back all the conversations that he's had with everybody for the last like
That's crazy.
90 minutes.
That's like some Savat shit.
Dude, the guy's got like 16 different patents, like artist patents on like facial measurements and how to like perfectly place the nose to the eyes for police sketch artists and things like that. Like the guy literally floats between genius and insanity.
Wow.
And my mom, when I was 16, let me live with him for 4 months. How crazy is that?
Sounds pretty awesome, dude.
Well, she was drunk, but so it wasn't that awesome. But and Charlie's crazy. We said someone was crazy as cat shit earlier, but he defines the term. Like this guy, I know we're way over, but and you don't have to record this. But
no worries,
when I did my sitcom, I hired him. He did like 6 episodes. He played like the chef that trained me. My guy was a chef, and I hired him because I knew him since I was a little boy, and I always loved him. And he's always funny. And at the end of the first season, he comes up to me and he says, "Freddie, I want to give you this. I want to give you a picture." That sounds like Vince McMahon, but he says, "I want to give you this picture. Your dad drew it for me, and everyone that I work with, I have draw a picture in this book since 1973, and I want to give you this picture that your dad drew for me." And I was like, "Oh my goodness!" And to set this up, when I was 13 years old, I was at the Improv and I met Charles, and he had just done Who Framed Roger Rabbit, so he was a god to me. And he was the first person to ever tell me like a real story about my dad. And I had just met him, and he goes, "It's funny." He says, "I was opening for your dad in Chicago," and he comes into the dressing room, and he says, "Charlie, let me ask you a question." I said, "Yeah, what?" He says, "Do you think your dick's bigger than mine?" And I said, he goes, I said, yeah, probably. And he goes, and your father said, "Well, let me see it." And then he goes, and I didn't care. I wasn't gay, so I pulled my dick out. And your dad looked at it, and he goes, "Nope, mine's bigger." And he walked away. And so he tells me this when I'm 13 years old, right? It's the first time anybody's told me anything about my father outside of, "Oh, my God, I loved him so much. It's so sad that he's dead."
Right.
So he was like the first honest, like, demigod as far as I was concerned. So it's years later. I was 13 then. I was 29 at this point. This is 10 years ago. And he shows me this. He goes, "And I'm going to give this picture to you." And I'm waiting to see this like meaningful, amazing photo. And I look at it, and it's a giant erect dick with a little tiny Jewish guy behind it. And the only reason you know it's a little Jewish Charlie is because you can see his little Jewish afro poking out around the sides of the penis. And his hands are holding the bottom, and these 2 little hairy legs are at the, underneath the balls, basically. And you got to remember, I'm waiting to see something emotionally impactful to me, and the expression that Charles is giving me is what I would expect if it was a portrait of Charlie or a naked woman or some fruit in a bowl.
Yeah.
But instead, he's having this emotional, like, I can't part with this picture, tears in his eyes, and it's just it's a hard-on. But to him, it was this amazing thing. So now I'm trying to like cover him, like, oh my God, Charlie, thank you so much. This is amazing. And I'm hugging him so he can't see my face, and on my face I'm like, what the hell did this guy just give me? But it literally is the only, this isn't sad, this is beautiful, it's the only thing I have that my father like placed his hand to. And so for me now it has the same meaning that it did for Charlie, because his hand made art, and now I get to like touch and possess that art. So it's really cool. I'm touching a penis,
a dick
but
pic.
At the same time it's a dick pic. Yes, from the 70s.
Don't
basically.
tweet it.
Oh, I did. It was someone said I want a weird throwback Thursday, and I was like, oh, I got something for you.
Yeah.
And it was animated, so I figure, nobody's gonna get too upset. And the lack of response let me know how awkward it made people.
People are like, what happened to Freddie?
Yeah, they're like, he always just tweets pictures of food he's cooking and him at jiu-jitsu or video games, and now all of a sudden he's pornographic.
He seemed like such a nice boy.
A Jedi would not tweet a picture of a penis.
No, I don't think so. That'd be
See, get grief for that too.
Yeah, unless he was playing a massive Jedi mind trick on somebody.
The most epic. Instead of Jedi mind tricks, they're Jedi mind pranks.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a 16-year-old Jedi.
Exactly.
All right, you guys. Well, listen, I've kept you up late enough, and I appreciate you letting me ramble.
This was amazing. Honestly, all this shit, we love all this shit.
We love WWE too.
Jiu-jitsu, I can't believe the life you've lived, bro. I wish I could be you for one. If I could be you for one day.
Only because you two guys think it's cool. There's like a bazillion other people that would be like, you guys are fucking dumb.
No, yeah, well, there's people that love.
We'd catch them in a figure four and bust their ass.
Well, they listen to the podcast and then they just write back to hate us. They're like, oh, you talk too much about wrestling. Oh, you talk too much about this. Oh, you talk too much about that. It's like, it's hilarious, but they still keep listening, so who cares?
That's good, though. No, hate is a very powerful thing. If people are criticizing you, that's because they're listening. That's what Howard Stern mastered.
The pleasure was all yours.
Exactly. Make them hate you more, man. That's good. If they don't care, it's bad.
Absolutely. You're totally right about that. Dude, thanks for listening, man, and listening. Thanks for calling in.
No, man, I appreciate
talking to you, dude.
I appreciate you guys having me on, and seriously, you guys are super cool for being patient and not thinking I was a flake when I was jacked up. I just would have had a hard time being positive and feeling good because I just wasn't in a good headspace.
No problem, man. I for sure get it, dude. No worries at all.
Because, I couldn't walk for months. It was terrible.
Well, you couldn't walk, I know, and, you had Ebola maybe or something like that. That's what I heard. So
yeah, I did have Ebola, and I was eating through a tube, but I'm back.
You're back,
and
on the mat.
So, in a few months, if you're lacking a guest, man, hit me up, man. We'll do it again.
Sounds good, dude. Thanks a lot,
that'd be
Freddie.
awesome.
All right, fellas.
Have a good one, man.
Great.
Freddie Prinze Jr., ladies and gentlemen, that was
wow,
nice.
man. I didn't. That was one of the better interviews, the most fun I've ever had. Just hearing about Vince fucking McMahon and all.
You know what I think it is? I think you love it because of all the insider wrestling stuff.
Yeah.
Because every time he brought up something about like inside,
I knew it.
You looked at me, you're like raising your eyebrows, you're like give me a thumbs up, like oh my god, this is so good. But man, that was awesome, dude. I think we're done, man. You got anything else?
No.
We got a great show lined up on Sunday, dude. Who's coming on Sunday?
Big Daddy Gary Goodridge.
The first thing I'm going to ask him is, how bad did it hurt when you got kicked in the balls?
He didn't get kicked in the balls.
Oh, that's Gilbert Avell. Damn it.
You motherfucking dumbass.
Hey, dude, that's even better. That's even better.
You know what he did?
I'm going to tell Ernest
did,
that Goodridge he reached into the cup, right? That's what he did.
Yeah.
I knew he had some ball play going on in there somewhere.
Yeah, do you want to release the other info we were talking about earlier, or you just want to keep it hush-hush?
Yeah. What do you want to do?
I think we should spill it now.
Well, so we're coming up on 1 million downloads, right? And
1 million.
That's a lot of downloads for some boys from Stockton.
Even Ted DiBiase would be impressed.
Even Ted DiBiase would have to say that we might be the multi-million-dollar podcast champion. We're not the champion, but we're the multi-million-dollar.
We're going to go have a belt made.
Yeah, right. So we're coming up on 1 million downloads. We've been running this premium network stuff. And so Matt had this brilliant idea.
So the brilliant idea is we would each do, we're already almost doing this. You got Tim doing the sweatshop, and all you perverted guys that like to hear girls talk to each other, we got Girls on Grappling. No, I'm just kidding. No, we got Girls on Grappling, which is gaining a lot of popularity. We got the Ernest Mello Project. And soon coming, we're going to have something called the MF Experience. The MF Experience, that's what I'm going to roll with. Hopefully Joe Rogan doesn't sue me. But anyways, that we're going to give for free for the month of April, and from now to the month of April, we're going to do all those shows for free. In May, it's going to be $1.99 to hear those extra shows a month.
$1.99 is nothing.
You get 4 shows for $1.99. You're always going to get Inside BJJ for free. It's always going to be free. We're never going to charge you for that. But for the side shows, it's $1.99.
That's a pretty good deal, right?
4 shows, $1.99.
How much does that work out to a show? That's 50 cents a show. That's come on.
Yeah.
You have that much money laying around in your car.
You're going to get the Ernest Mello Project. You're going to get the MF Experience. You're going to get the Sweatshop, and you're going to get Girls on Grappling.
And I might throw in some Friday night jive, right? Maybe.
And let's not forget the archives.
The archives are outstanding.
You could hear a purple belt Keenan Cornelius being interviewed by James Timothy Freeman.
Thank you very much. That was awesome. So yeah, check it out, InsideBJJ.com/premium. Make sure you listen up in April. We're going to put out some cool stuff. Join us on Sunday for Mr. Goodridge. It's going to be a great show, Matt.
Yep. Big Daddy.
Nice, man. Anything else? I think that's it, dude.
Yeah, that's it, man.
I think we're good.
We're out of here. You're welcome.
Want to thank Freddie Prinze Jr. once again for listening. Make sure you check us out on Twitter at InsideBJJ, InsideBJJ.com, at InsideBJJ Matt, at InsideBJJ Ernest.
Especially Inside BJJ Matt on Twitter. Especially follow that.
Thanks. We'll catch you guys.
Especially.
Especially.